in his McMurphy's Law. The best record against AP top 25 teams since 2014 when the playoff began. At the top of the list, you have Alabama. That is not a surprise. Then you have the others you would expect: Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, TCU, and then Oklahoma State. Of all of those schools, the ones with a winning record against the top 25, there's one from the Big 12 that has been in the playoff last year, and then Oklahoma State, who has been close, knocking on the door, but have not yet made it.
Oklahoma State literally inches away
from
probably being in the college football
yes.
playoff, if not for Jaron McVay, which is a name they never thought that they would need to know and never want to hear again, basically. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State's been remarkably consistent. That's why what's going on right now is so alarming, of just like they're nowhere close to where they've been for such a long time. And I don't know if they're going backwards, but they're at least stuck in neutral right now. And, that's been just a program that year in and year out, it's like just – will Oklahoma be the last thing standing in their way, or Texas or whatever? But like the number 3 team, like more often than not, it's them. And, now it's TCU getting mentioned first, or it's even a Baylor getting mentioned first, or it's, some new team getting mentioned first. And I don't know. I just feel like Oklahoma State's losing some of its mojo, guys. Yeah, when you see a stat like this and you realize just how remarkably consistent they've been for a really long time.
Absolutely. It is startling to me that Mike Gundy, of all the things that Mike Gundy's ever been able to do, he always has a quarterback that is at least capable, if not pretty good as a college quarterback. And to have 3 guys on the roster and have none of those guys who can go out and be capable is really, that might be the first time in his tenure that's ever happened. And look, I know that some of the guys are not world beaters or anything like that, but he's put several guys in the NFL for long periods of their career, and it's not his job for them to be good when they get there, but he has always had somebody, like, for better or worse, that can go out and is, when you go, what's wrong with Oklahoma State, you're never really talking about the quarterback, because the quarterback's always something that they kind of always had in the works, but he is, and it's a lot to do with the transfer portal, and he's not one of these guys that's against the transfer portal. He had a great quote to Max Olson. He's like, look, you can either, say you don't like it and then get beat by all the people who are using it, or go out and get in it. I'm just surprised that he has not, especially if you're a quarterback, wanting to go play in an offense for Mike Gundy is usually a pretty good thing. How he kind of got stuck here is really surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, the whole ending of the Spencer Sanders era was just weird, and what's he doing now? Spencer Sanders,
he played one play last year.
Right, so he couldn't be leading Oklahoma State right now. What? I mean, seemed like it would solve both of their issues, but obviously that marriage, dissolved there at the end for various reasons. But yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show you how we got to remember how consistently or how consistent Oklahoma State has been. But yeah, I mean, popping that back up, TCU obviously made the playoff last year, so they don't have that asterisk next to them. But had they not made it, then you'd be saying the same thing about them, of just how remarkably consistent they've been for as long as they have been. They've been a tremendous program that has made it through the waters of various leagues, and then finally found their way to the Big 12 and had a little bit of a hard start there, as most teams do, just adjusting. But I mean, give them a few years and they've got themselves right there to the top of playing in the national championship game. I mean, that program and their ascent just over time has been pretty incredible. I mean, just how consistent they've been, and all of the various alleys they've ran through to find their spot ultimately in the Big 12. There's so much more potential there for the Frogs. But the rest of that list, I mean, yeah, that's, hey, name the top programs in the country any given year, and that's pretty much the list right there. You might change around 1 or 2, but I don't know, the last 20 years or so, or since 2014 especially, yeah, that's the list. The only concerning part on there to me is Oklahoma's record, and not concerning, but looking at it from Oklahoma perspective, that's a lot of winning without any national titles. I mean, that's the thing that has continued to elude them since they won it with Bob Stoops in his second year, and they played for it a bunch of times, and they played for it a few times since 2014, but that's the one hump that they just cannot seem to get over, is winning that national title.
The game when they let Georgia back in it,
yeah,
that was the one time, and of course Georgia was explosive, but they seem to have that kind of in play. But there's been a couple of pooped on themselves in a couple of the national championship games, with all due respect to the teams like LSU, Florida, and of course USC, who beat them. So there's the list: best record, AP top 25 since 2014 when the college football playoff began. It is